Good morning. Recording now. Okay. So again, good morning. It's about 9:02. I want to go ahead and get started with this. So again, this should be, thank you, Ms. Nadaraj. So again, this should be in this meeting, world languages and English. So if you're not world languages and English, there's another rotation that you should be in, okay? So again, if you're not world languages and you're not English, this is not the meeting that you should be in, okay? There we go. So again, Ms. Hallaby, Ms. Buchanan, Mr. Love, I know y'all might be doing the sign-in sheet. Just make sure you are on your camera for our district redeliver, okay? Before we get started, English teachers, I sent you a really critical email, and we do apologize for it being kind of a last minute situation, but we do need you all to complete that document that came from Elazar. That needs to be done ASAP. Okay, ASAP meaning in the next couple of minutes. Okay, good morning. Ms. Jancy, if you don't support English or world languages, then you need to go to the other meeting because you do science, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you need to follow the science schedule, okay?
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, let me preface this by saying this presentation is supposed to be 64 slides. I am not going to do 64 slides, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get us to the most important pieces of this training and the things that pertain directly to us. So if you stay with me, stay engaged, I'm going to get you in and out of this meeting 20 minutes or less, okay? But I need you to stay engaged so that I can say that we covered everything that needed to be covered, okay? Everybody give me a thumbs up if you're with me, please, and thank you. I love it. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I hope everybody's having a wonderful morning. I'm glad that we were able to work from home today. That was awesome. So I have already put the link in the chat for you for the sign in. If you missed it, I will give it to you at the end of the training, okay? All right, so this particular meeting, again, this is a district redeliver, so that's why it's so critical and important because they want to make sure that we are communicating the same thing to everybody in the district, okay? As you all are very well aware, at any moment, we could be asked to pivot. Does anybody know what it means to pivot? Come off your mute and tell me, what does it mean if we have to pivot?
Back to virtual or hybrid.
Right, okay. So again, make sure you guys are on your camera because I am scrolling through as well. So make sure you're on your camera, please, and thank you. Right. And so if we have to pivot, if that happens, they want to make sure that we are already in a position to make sure that our school can function if we have to go back in. Also, the numbers are increasing in terms of students who want to go virtual or parents who want their students to do virtual learning. At this point, they have not shut it off. We were hoping they were going to shut off that option. The county is still allowing people to go from virtual to in the building and from in the building to virtual. We don't know yet when that's going to be cut off or if that's going to be cut off, but they want to make sure that we are prepared to teach students either way, okay? So again, I'm always going to be transparent about what's going on behind the scenes because you as the teachers are the ones who are on the front lines that's going to be most affected by this, okay? How many of you guys are already teaching both right now? You have virtual students and in-house students at the same time. Just go ahead and put a reaction so we know if we're talking to any of you guys in here. Any of you guys already doing that? Okay, I see some thumbs up. I see the crying face. I see, okay, all right. Okay, so you guys already know most of the stuff that I'll have to go over. So for the purposes of Clayton County Public Schools, this is called Roomies and Zoomies. So Roomies is when we're talking about the kids that are actually inside of the room with us. Zoomies are just that, the people who are the students who are on the Zoom, okay? So why are we here today? Basically, we are going to review a few of the documents that the county has provided us to guide us with a consistent plan for hybrid learning or simultaneous instruction, okay? There will be some follow-up training sessions. Again, this presentation was supposed to be about 60-something slides, which includes watching videos and things like that. That would have had you here for about 2 hours. And I just didn't think that was something that needed to be done today, all in one setting. So we are going to do a piece of it today. Then I'll be filtering through some additional pieces in the weeks to come, okay? Is everybody still with me? Everybody still with me? I see some thumbs up, cool. Again, let's make sure that we are on our cameras, professionals. Let's make sure we're on our cameras for this district redeliver. All right. All right, so if you have any questions that need to be posed to the district, this is the link for that. I will give you this one at the end. So if by the time I go through this, you are like, what in the world is going on? Again, this is the district's initiative, which we will support. But if there are some critical questions that you have, then this is where you will pose those questions. And again, I will share that platform for you. All right, let's have a moment of honesty. What I want you to do is I'm going to put this particular link in the chat, and I want you guys to go on and I want you to give me an honest moment. So some honest information, all right? So if you go to the chat right now, I'm getting ready to put this link in the chat. And I want you guys to go to the tiny URL that was just posted in the chat, okay? And let me know if it's not working. That is always a possibility. So it says, here's the question. Are virtual students or in-person students the best to, and it should say teach and not teacher, the best to teach? And then explain your answer. So again, it should be, are virtual students or in-person the best to teach? I'll correct that. And then it asks you to explain that, explain your answer. Good morning, Ms. Jacobs, how are you?
Good morning. So
Good morning.
I actually went up to the school because I thought I thought the students were at home and we were at the school, but I stand corrected.
Well, we're glad you're with us and you're relaxing, got some coffee, yes.
Yes.
Welcome, welcome. So again, I posted in the chat that link. Thank you to those who have responded. This is a strategy that you are one of the platforms you can use with your students. And yes, Ms. Brock, I have still been in contact with Mr. Truitt. The district has still not responded about purchasing licenses for Padlet. But I did follow up.
I've been paying, I've been paying like $100 a year to use Padlet, because if you use your personal Padlet account and not a school Padlet account, you have to pay, you like can only have 3 Padlets per month.
Yeah.
And I need like multiple per day.
And so we'll talk about that in a side conversation, but I did follow up with that for you. But
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll keep up with it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your responses. Let's see, most virtual, don't have to focus on non-teaching duties. Okay. I see a lot of in-persons. All students are the best to teach. They deserve the best. I like that. In-person, virtual. I like that. They're just way more relaxed. Yeah. Yeah, great responses. I hope everybody got a chance to respond. All right, great. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. Forgive me for moving quickly through this, but I definitely want to make sure I don't hold you. So again, this recording will be shared. So again, that's why we need you guys on your camera. So when they ask me for the documentation of teachers, that I can show that you were actually physically here in the meeting and not just sitting on a blank screen, okay? So try to come on your cameras as much as possible. All right. The other thing is, if you have any questions, use the chat. Mr. Calvo, if you can keep an eye on the chat for me, please, that would be great. If there's something I need to answer that I missed, just let me know. Ask questions. And again, all cameras must remain on during this recording as verification of training completion. All right, so where are we headed? Again, this is only part one of this, and we're only going to look at some of the features of simultaneous or hybrid learning. And we want to make sure that we establish some consistent rules and routines for our Roomies and our Zoomies. So if you are not yet teaching both right now, that could potentially happen tomorrow, where you could be given some students, or some of your current students can go to the virtual option, and you might be required to have Roomies and Zoomies at the same time. Okay. So here are some of the groups or the learning models. Again, there are some schools that are on A Day, B Day, which is what I kind of thought we were going to wind up doing. Then you have your face-to-face, which is the model that we're on, with virtual learning also mixed into it. So you have some schools that have some teachers that are specifically devoted to the virtuals, and you have some that are virtuals and in-house, and you have some that are hybrid. So there are several models that are going on right now. For us, we have some teachers who are face-to-face and virtual. What Severi's trying to do is he's trying to keep that number down as low as possible of teachers who have to do both. In some of the schools, this is the model, meaning they don't have the Mimeo board. So can you imagine being in a situation right now where you didn't have the Mimeo board? If that was the case, then you have the teacher that's sitting right here that cannot move because what's on their computer? Some teachers, some students. They have a document cam to do any 3Ds or any manipulatives, but this computer is the only communication source they have with students, which means that the other students in the class, your Roomies, are basically on the computer, but in the room with you, okay? So that's one of the models. Now, our model is a little different. Simultaneous teaching with certain devices and digital resources, including webcams. One thing Ms. Trice has said is that the webcams that they are providing, and they are going to be providing us with more webcams, that the webcams are helpful, but to have ones that would move with the teacher would be a little bit better. The principals are meeting about that and making those suggestions to the district. But at this time, we do have webcams in our school, and the district has purchased more for us. So this is a model that we are pretty much using, where you have your Roomies, they have their Chromebooks. Your teacher can have the Mimeo pad, and I've seen several teachers with the Mimeo pads kind of moving around the room or standing behind their shield, and they are able to navigate the board, and then their Zoomies are on as well. So this is the model that we are moving towards if you're not already doing it, okay? So here's some things to consider. And again, I'm sorry I'm talking at you, but I want to kind of get through this. The good thing about having the Roomies and Zoomies situation is you basically create one lesson plan because everybody's going to be following that. The greatest thing is students can kind of stay on the master schedule, so they're not being withdrawn from your course and then added back to your course. They're still in your course, they just are at home, okay? Students are able to remain with you, so students you got to know and develop a relationship with, if they so happen in another couple of weeks to go to virtual, then they already have a relationship with you. They know your expectations and you're able to move forward, okay? Some of the downfalls, of course, on the other side would be like fine arts, PE, the things that your CTAE courses that require more structure in-house, that is a struggle, and they are aware of that. The length of the day for remote learners has to be considered because our students right now can kind of move around. Your remote learners, you want to keep in mind how long they need to be on the system. So there are some things that we are charged to look at as well, okay? Also, another challenge is the need for technology and then managing our different students and their needs, like our DES students and things like that, okay? Here are some things you need to know. This is very important, so I need everybody's eyes on the screen. Yes, there we go. Headphones, we have headphones for every single student in the building. We're just trying to determine when is the best time to give those away and the best situation to give those. Because right now, if we gave them out, where would they, be using them unless they are on the simultaneous model? Web cameras have been ordered for all schools. All students should have access to a device and be able to get on Canvas. And if you are still not able to access, and Ms. Williams, this might be for you because I know you had this question last semester. If you are still not able to access your online textbook, here's the person that you need to contact, Sean Denby. So if you are still unable to access your online textbook, Sean Denby, whose name is right here in the PowerPoint slide, is who you want to contact, okay? So again, there are 3 groups of learners to support: your in-persons, your virtual learning, and for us at Charles Drew High School and many others, your quarantine students. So, we get the letters at the end of the day. We're still expected to provide those students with instruction as well, okay? Any questions? Any questions? If there are questions, you can drop them in the chat. I'll take a look real quick. No questions? All right, cool. Thank you to those who, yes, thank you to those who are dropping some suggestions and things in the chat and sharing. Thank you so much. Here's some essential resources that you'll need. Again, laptops, Mimeo pads, or the wireless slates, which we do have, document cams, headsets, or microphones, which we do have a few of those as well. Active Canvas courses. So if you are still not using Canvas, the expectation is Canvas is what we are using. Students will need their Chromebooks, headsets for Roomies when we move towards that model, print and digital resources, and access to your Canvas, okay? So this is the only part that we're gonna cover today, which is establishing rituals and routines that are going to keep in mind the needs of your Roomies and your Zoomies, okay? So when you think about, in front of me, I have in-person kids, and then I'm expected to teach these Zoomies. Okay, cool. What are some things that you're going to need to consider as an educator in preparation for that? So I'm gonna stop my chat real quick. I'm sorry, stop my share. I want you to come off of mute real quick. What are some things you're gonna need to consider if you have kids in the room with you, the kids at home, when you are doing your opening and things like that? Dr. Moore, I see your hand. Yes. What are some things that we're going to need to consider?
One of the things I've already had to consider with my virtual kids is sometimes I'll explain things in writing so that kids can understand what I'm saying in French, and they can kind of match the sound with the spelling, because in French, a lot of times the endings are silent, and the kids, especially in level 1, they don't grasp it in the beginning. So I have to kind of give them a visual. Well, if I write something on the board, my kids who are in virtual can't see because the Mimeo screen is on the board, smack dab in the middle. And so sometimes I literally take the camera off of the Mimeo board and turn it toward my board so they can kind of see, or I take my phone and I screenshot what's on the board, and then I post it in, I used to post it in Google Classroom and now Canvas. So it was just a consideration I hadn't even thought about. And I was like, oh my God.
Right,
so I might get another board that kind of faces, that kind of moves, if that makes sense, on wheels.
Excellent.
But there's a whiteboard feature in Zoom that you can use. So last year when we did hybrid, we basically did everything through Zoom. That way the kids in the classroom and the kids at home could see it, right? But the only problem with that is that your kids in the classroom and your kids in virtual were pretty much glued to their computer for a whole school day.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
which
Yeah,
even for us can be very daunting.
So for me, what I do, because I do a lot of interactive stuff, trying to get the kids to talk. And if I do need to type stuff on the board, I just go into Google Documents on my computer and have that same Google document up on the big TV board, because you can type in and it changes simultaneously. And I can use Google Drawings if I need to write the words with my finger, like a scribble. But this is why I'm using things like Padlet, where even the students who are in the class can't be heard during discussion. It can facilitate non-vocal but written discussions over like articles and such.
Awesome. Ms. Williams, I know you have your hand up as well. What you thinking?
One of the things I was about to say, well, what I've noticed with virtual and in person, it's a lag. So I have to take that into consideration. So I have to take into consideration, sometimes everybody's internet is not up to speed. I know I have one student in particular, I'll say, you guys come off mute, and she is the first one to talk, but it sounds like a robot. So I immediately have to have the chat pulled up. I literally have like 3 devices logged in every day, because if you have your computer and your Mimeo board plugged in, it echoes. So you got to mute one, but I can't see the chat if I'm moving around the classroom and see the students. So I have my cell phone plugged in so I can see the chat. So it's like a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I think I always give, like, say for instance, if we do bell ringers, while my in-person kids are writing on paper, my virtual kids are emailing me immediately. So I can see it on my cell phone as we're reading it. Because if you're dropping it in the chat, again, if I'm not glued to my cell phone, then I don't see what you're saying. So it's just coming up with little things, or I should say little things, to make everybody feel comfortable and feel included. And I think that's my biggest want for my virtual kids, is just because y'all at home, y'all still a part of this classroom. You do not get time off. So if something is due by the end of class, yours is due by the end of class. Like, the rule goes across the board, but the engagement is hard because, and that's my in-person kids they struggle. They'll be like, so why are we always answering the questions? Why don't we just be quiet for the day and let the virtual kids answer the question? I said, well, I can't tap them on the shoulder. I can't go to their house and say, hey, answer my question. I just try to get them engaged, like with the bonus points and stuff. But I think just being considerate of the situation of the virtual kids it's gonna be difficult, but I mean, I think we're gonna make the best of it. That's just where we are.
And what you said, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Jacobs.
Last year with Zoom, when I did hybrid, I used the discussion feature in Canvas. So whenever I had a discussion, the kids could post and then comment on each other's posts. And, we saw it in real time. Everybody in the class saw it and everybody could discuss it that way. But I will say, even with doing the discussion post, the engagement piece was always very, very difficult, even with my at-home learners, because they had so many distractions. The parent in the background, the television, the little brother or sister, there was just so many things going on. And I think that's probably the hardest part with teaching in person and virtual, because your in-person students can focus and concentrate with little to no distractions, whereas your virtual students, they're at home. So the phone's ringing, the parents home in the background walking around half naked. Because that happened a couple of times.
I see y'all nodding y'all's heads. Y'all experienced that. I'm sorry.
In fact, one of the siblings actually took my student's computer and ran down the hall with it. So I'm watching the computer bobbling because their brother and sister is running with it. So it's just the engagement piece is really difficult when teaching, virtually versus in person.
And so what I want us to do, and thank you guys for sharing. And I know we have hands up and I'm sorry, but we have about 5 minutes and I want to do this last little piece so that I can let you guys go to your next session, because I promised to keep you only for the time that I had. Here's what I want you guys just to consider. Exactly what you're saying are the things that they want us to start thinking about, okay? So after this meeting, I'm going to be posting a couple of things, and I know we have 1,000 things on your schedule, but there is a Clayton County guide that they have provided us with that just kind of gets you aligned with thinking about those Zoomies, thinking about those kids that are behind the screen, and basically how to get in front of their needs as well. So let's say you're doing an activity that requires a novel, and there is no PDF of that novel. They basically want us to start thinking about, I know that I'm going to be covering this novel on September 15th. I'm going to start it. So beginning on September 1st or September 7th, I need to arrange for some type of pickup for my virtual students so that they can come and pick up their novels. So when you're starting to do Roomies and Zoomies, you almost have to think 1 or 2 weeks ahead of the materials that you might need if it's outside of their Chromebooks and things like that, so that we can set it up. If you have kids who are ELL students and they need an interpreter, you know, you have to get in front of that and schedule an interpreter and things like that to submit a request. So as we are preparing, the rituals and routines are basically every day when I'm teaching, here's some things I want to be considering, okay? So in addition to how we consider the learning blocks for our students or those foundational learning skills that they'll need, we also have to think about the Zoomies and the materials they're going to need. How am I going to communicate with everybody effectively? And I want to say hats off to all of you guys who have cell phones going and 2 or 3 devices going and you're managing all that, because that's a lot. But you're trying to figure out how to make it work for all students. And that's basically what this hybrid model is asking us to do. Just get in front of it and establish some type of thought process to include those Roomies. So one thing that we were supposed to do, which we won't get time to do, is to actually look at a lesson plan. But I did want to look at one thing on this lesson plan. Are you guys able to see this lesson plan right now? I'm sorry. Okay, okay, cool. So if you look at the bell ringer, look at the bell, just the bell ringer right here. Is this conducive to Roomies and Zoomies? Why or why not? Somebody come off mute, tell me, is this bell ringer, this first one for Monday, is that conducive to Roomies and Zoomies? Why or why not?
I would say yes.
Why?
They should have equal access to Padlet.
Cool. What about down here for the work session? Is this conducive to Roomies and Zoomies? Somebody tell me.
Looks like it, yeah.
Why?
Guided notes can be done with a Google Doc that's interactive.
Okay.
And EXL, that's on their computers, so. It can
Right.
be done simultaneously.
So this is a teacher who is actually teaching both right now. And as you can see, they do have to consider both students, okay? So again, it is right at 9:30. I'm getting ready to put the sign out sheet for you guys. We just touched on it today. We will be moving forward with this, and we'll be doing some more work with these things in mind, okay? So Mr. Love, I see you. Give me a second. So let me post the sign out sheet really quick. So just keep in mind, you guys, make sure you jump in your meetings on time as soon as possible, because usually the sign-in sheets go out at the top, and we had 2 different ones today. So just try to make sure that you're getting into those meetings at the top of them so you can get that in, okay? Okay, so I'm getting ready to put the Charles Drew one in the chat. And then there is another one that you guys need to do for the district as well, okay? So this first one I'm putting is the Charles Drew one. So this is your sign out. And then let me put the one from the district. Once you have signed out, you are free to go to your next meeting if you sign both sign-ins, if you've done both sign-ins. So give me one more second to post that first one. Okay. So you have 2 sign-ins in the chat. You should have done one for Charles Drew and one for the district. If you've done both of those, then you are free to go, and I appreciate you guys. I have recorded your attendance in this particular session. So English and world languages, again, thank you guys so much.